Hi, my name is Erin. I go by Erin the Urban Mermaid, which is also my business name. And welcome to my YouTube channel. If you would have asked me a few years ago or even earlier this year if I would have a YouTube channel or a podcast or anything of that sort, I definitely would think you were crazy. But it turns out as I am growing on my personal journey and my spiritual journey, and my business is ascending as well, I needed to find more platforms to house my teachings. So, this is my first video. I've actually never done anything like this before, so just bear with me. But I figured a good first video is to tell you guys a little bit about my story. Um, as I mentioned, my name is Erin. I'm a mother, I'm a writer. I work with esoteric healing modalities. I'm an intuitive empath. I channel with the tarot and astrology. I'm also an advocate for holistic living, and I teach a lot surrounding all of those. But I'm also a spiritual guide and a business guide, and I'm here to guide and mentor my fellow light workers and empaths and change agents to unlearn all the conditioning that they've been taught through their life so that they can shine their beautiful lights and give back to this world and help our world essentially on its ascension journey. So, I guess I could tell you a little bit about how I got here. So, I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and I lived there until I was 24 years old. I did have spiritual gifts as a child, but because I didn't know I had them, they were not nourished. And through, just growing up and conditioning, not to anyone's fault, that's just the environment I grew up in. I kind of lost that all somewhere. I do have two children of my own. I have two sons, Bryson and Christian. They are three and a, just over 3.5 and just over 2. So they are 18 months apart, which is wild in and of itself. But they are spiritually gifted as well. And one of the reasons I started this YouTube channel is my podcast. I'm going to start interviewing people, so I'd like to have this to house the actual interview so you guys can see it. So I'm actually going to have a very special guest coming soon to talk about spiritual children, so I'm going to save that for that podcast and not really get too deep into it right now. So I'm a girl's girl. I always have been. I love fashion, writing, I grew up thinking I was going to be the next Carrie Bradshaw, because what girl didn't at my age in the time that I grew up, especially living in New York City. So I actually have my bachelor's degree in English literature and creative writing, which I have not done shit with. So there's that. um, but I've had the same group of loyal friends since high school and college. I was actually in a sorority in college. And, they're really just my loyal, lifelong friends. And even if we don't all have the same beliefs, it's beautiful to have friendships like that that go on and last for 20 years. And you can always love those people. So I worked actually in Wall Street as an assistant for the 10 or 11 years after I graduated college. I worked on actual Wall Street in New York City. And then when I moved to California at 24, I worked more for like retirement planners. And believe me, this taught me a lot about life and business. Um, but mostly it taught me that even though I was good at my job, that's not where my passion lied, and that's why I never was successful at it. Um, so I mentioned I moved to California when I was 24. I moved all by myself. I didn't have a job lined up. It was the economic recession. I didn't have a dollar in my pocket. I didn't have a savings. I didn't have an apartment. I didn't have a car. Um, a lot of people will tell me like, oh, that's so brave of you, or that's so cool. And I'm grateful for the experience. I'm grateful for the lesson, because I realize in everything is lesson a lesson. Nothing's ever good or bad. It's just not the same guidance I would give my children today. But I've been here for it's almost 11 years. It'll be 11 years in April. It's almost December now. Um, and I've been with my partner Ryan for the most of that time. Um, and he's the father of my children. And um, yeah, so I rediscovered my spiritual gifts probably when I had my first son. So I mentioned that my children are spiritual beings as well. And I was always into like the holistic side of life. I was always like really eating healthy against GMOs. So that continued when I got pregnant, of course. I was really like I advocate for breastfeeding, all that stuff. I'm really into essential oils. I am till this day, oils, herbs, kitchen magic. I love it. So I was also always a person who like I saw readers myself. And they would always tell me I had a spiritual mission and I had spiritual gifts, but at the time I thought it was more related to motherhood and I didn't really know, it was very vague. So my son, who I mentioned, is spiritually gifted. It's a blessing, but it's very hard as well. So through him, I rediscovered my own gifts. I think that's the best way to put it. I when I got my Reiki attunement, that really opened things up for me. I'm a Usui Reiki master. Um, Also, I've always loved astrology. Always like, with your girlfriends, and we would be like, oh, he's a Scorpio, But I actually started getting into the birth charts because of my two boys and parenting them because they're such different kids. I started really going deep with it. And I started talking to other people and reading their charts, and they were like, wow, Erin, you really have a gift. You really know what you're talking about. I'm like, no, I'm just telling you. I didn't realize that I was actually channeling messages from the divine. So it's a very cool thing. And then I picked up with tarot and oracle cards, which I love so much. They're one of my favorite divination tools. And I started reading people with them, and it kind of was the same thing. People were really blown away. And I'm like, well, and they would say, how do you know that? And I'm like, I just do. I don't know. So last year, yeah, about a year or so ago, I entered my dark night of the soul, which was a devastating but necessary time period for me. And it lasted about a year or so. It was really hard. It was hard to get up every day. I have a podcast about the dark night of the soul. If you'd like to check out my podcast, it's on Apple iTunes and it's on Spotify. It's the hashtag Grounded and Glam Modern Mystics and Motherhood podcast. And in that specific one, which I believe I just titled The Dark Night of the Soul, I kind of go into how it's spiritual and it's different than like just having depression. Symptoms seem very similar, but it's not quite the same. So I spent a lot of time feeling alone, despite the fact that I'm a mom 24/7, 365, and I get zero alone time. I started waking up to things that are, they're not really the norm. They're not the status quo. And, it made me feel like I was an outsider. But with that, I started sharing my experiences a little bit on Instagram, which I had done that before with motherhood, but again, it didn't really take off the way I had wanted it to. Um, and sharing about motherhood can be tough because everyone has an opinion about that, and people take things really personally. There, you it's hard sometimes. You have to remember that even though your consciousness might be higher, a platform like Instagram houses millions of people, and not everyone's going to be on your level. So that's where it's a little bit tough. But I started talking more about my spirituality, following the moons, giving people moon readings, and I attracted in a really incredible soul family. I met some wonderful spiritual women who really helped guide me, whether they know it or not, and they became good friends, might I add. And I learn from them every day. They're like my mentors in my head. And then I have a good friend that I've known my entire time in San Diego, who is a psychic medium, and she always told me that I was gifted too, and she's actually the one that helped me figure out my children's gifts. And now we're like me and her are like spiritually bonded on a really different level. It's nice to have friends like that. It's great to have my high school and college friends, and we always reminisce on good times and stuff like that. But when you have a soul family that really aligns with what you feel, it's a little bit different, because you feel, when you first go into that dark night of the soul, you feel so alone. The loneliness is, it's crippling, it's painful. And if you don't have anyone to talk to about that, it gets really hard. So um, I'm a Sagittarius. My birthday is coming up, actually in a week on December 5th. My sun is Sagittarius, my moon is Virgo, and my rising is Capricorn. But I have 4 total planets in Sagittarius, so that makes me a stellium, and also my 12th house. So, what I learned from astrology is that I'm here as a guide to be of service to others. But I'm not here for everyone, and that's totally fine. The archetype of the person I'm here for is actually very Sagittarius too, with just a sliver of Capricorn in there. So I'm looking to help people who are the free spirits, who think outside the box, who are passionate, who are spiritual. Essentially, Sagittarius is the spiritual teacher. They love to travel, they love to learn, they love to absorb. They're such sponges. So that doesn't mean that every person I'm here to help is a Sagittarius. It just means they fit the bill of what a Sagittarius embodies. And a lot of that is just being this eternal learner and optimism. It's really beautiful when you figure this out, because that's the people you start attracting in as well. Um, so I knew I wanted to take this to a different level, and I'm very grassroots. My girlfriend uses that term a lot. I'm very grassroots. I don't come from money. I started this business without a dollar of my own money, and all I knew is just that I had to be of service, and I had to get my gift out there, and that I had to have these different platforms and ways to help. So, and might I add, my business flourished during this past year, when so many people, you know, they think that they can't start a business, or they can't get something off the ground. You can do it, I promise you. In fact, most of the answers are in your birth chart, which I call your soul's blueprint, but it's a lot of energy as well. So I'm going to get into that in a bit. So as I mentioned, I started my podcast, the hashtag Grounded in Glam Modern Mystics and Motherhood podcast. My website is www.erintheurbanmermaid.com. And I always knew that I wanted to start some kind of membership so that I could help people on a monthly basis. So I created the Grounded in Glam membership. And those people I know are truly, truly my mirrors and the people I'm here to work with. So, there's 3 different levels to my membership. And each one houses something else. And there's Reiki, there's healing, I do moon magic, I do moon rituals, I do workshops every month. um there's a lot of community, there's a lot of support. When I talk to my members, I don't care what time of day it is. It's like family. It's like talking to myself a couple years ago. It's crazy. But it's a beautiful thing and I always tell them how proud of them I am for making the commitment to showing up for themselves and choosing self-love, because that's really what it's all about. Healing is about self-love. So it's been a journey with that too, but I couldn't be happier. I truly know that the people that are my members, like, those are my cosmically aligned clients, and they're like, I'm so connected to them, and I just love them so much, and they make me so proud. um I have my membership. I do private readings as well. I do birth chart readings, I do compatibility readings for couples. I have even an option for your kiddos. I do tarot readings, and then I do workshops every month. So most of my workshops are free for my members. I've done about twin flames and soulmates. I've done about connecting with your guides. I've done about accessing your inner child. I did a big one around Scorpio season. Um, this month, I'm doing one called Kitchen Witchery, as well as Dark Moon Lilith, accessing your divine feminine. So what I've basically come to realize on this journey, that all the answers that you need within yourself lies within your soul's blueprint, and it's the planets and it's your placements. And for anyone doing personal development work, I highly suggest looking deep into that stuff, because it's really true, and it's really, really real stuff. So I decided to start this YouTube channel. So um, I'm growing, as I mentioned. I'm growing spiritually. I'm growing physically. Another cool thing is I had some downloads recently about redoing my space in my home in San Diego. I live in an apartment with my family. That I needed basically a home office in order for my gifts and everything, my business to flourish. So these next couple videos that are going to come up here, you guys are going to see the transition. I think that's pretty cool. I should warn you, I'm like not an interior designer, and I've always chose function over like aesthetics. So and I do have to keep it minimal because my kids get into everything. It's a little insane. um so you guys, you'll get to see that transition as well. Very excited for that. But so um I was shown, like I always say, spirit shows me, spirit comes in my dreams. Or I just know, and I know it's spirit really just working through me. I wanted to start housing some readings on here. So this month, it's only appropriate to start off with Sagittarius, since I am like the Sag queen. um, I'm going to be doing sun goddess readings for every sign that we're in. We're going to be housing them on here. And I mentioned I'm going to be housing the interviews that I'm doing for my podcast. So I have 10 episodes right now, and they're all single, but the next one's coming up. I'm going to have guests, and I'm super duper excited about them. And the interviews will be up here as well. So that's really the most about me, I think. I'm very much an open book. If you follow me on Instagram, it's at Erin the Urban Mermaid. I share a lot on there, and I go pretty deep. I have a blog on my website, which is www.erintheurbanmermaid.com. I haven't really been super active on the blog because I'm one person. And I have all these outlets. I don't have an assistant or anything like that. And at the same time, as I've mentioned like 5 times during this video, I'm mommy 24/7, 365. So kids come first. But I do offer a lot of tools for people, and a lot of free tools too. But if you're interested in joining the membership, you could always check that out. That's on my webpage, or purchase any of my workshops a la carte. I also this past year completed a 12-week intensive called Let's Talk Tarot, where I taught 7 women how to read the tarot with their third eye and their intuition and their divine feminine. And I also use some Reiki to help open up those blocks for them. I am going to be offering that again in the new year. It actually went great. A few tweaks here and there, but oh, do we have a kiddo waking up? We might. Oh, okay, good, we're safe. But overall, I am going to be bringing that back again, because that it just went phenomenally. And in the new year, I am going to have my spiritual business coaching available. I'm going to have a full program about launching your successful business while being aligned with your higher calling. So I will be using astrology, but I will also be using energy and the chakras with this. So that's something for you guys to look out for also. And coming up, the next video will be my first sun goddess reading in the sign of Sagittarius. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for all of your love and support. It means the world for me, because I never thought any of this stuff was possible for me. At one point I just thought I was going to be at a desk job for the rest of my life, and here I am, living in my higher calling, fulfilling karmic debts and soul contracts. And um, I couldn't, I'm very much so at peace with all of that. And that's another life lesson that I learned. At the beginning of the video, I said I moved to San Diego to find happiness. What I realized is inner peace is the new happiness. So that comes with a lot of self-realization, a lot of work, a lot of shadow work. But when you get there, it's a really good place. And, you lose a lot of people along the way. But whenever we lose something, whenever we lose something, whenever we give something up, whenever we give something away, just know that we are making space for something even better and more aligned to come in. So please check out my channel, check out my podcast. So I will say that again. It's the hashtag Grounded and Glam Modern Mystics and Motherhood podcast, and you can find that both on iTunes and Spotify. My website, www.erintheurbanmermaid.com, where you could shop with us, purchase any of the workshops a la carte, or you could join the membership there. Otherwise, I'm always reachable on Instagram at Erin the Urban Mermaid. A DM there, I answer pretty quickly. I do have a Facebook page, Erin the Urban Mermaid. And just want to say I wish everyone love and light, and have a great rest of your day. And thank you so much for being here with me.